Hello everybody, John here, and today onto the garage. I'm doing a little bit of work on Snoopy the Abarth, and all we're doing is I'm going to get her up in the air, take the wheels off so I can check the brakes properly. They look fine, but I want the opportunity to just check the pads. Plus, I'm going to tidy up the calipers, which just irritate me because the car is near mint condition, but as is quite normal. The calipers are really quite rusty, and they've got these very open wheels on the 595, and they just show them off badly, if you can call it showing it off when it's rusty. You first get your centre caps off. Got a screwdriver with some masking tape wrapped around the blade. There's a groove in the side of the cap. Put your screwdriver under. Give it a good pull. Oops. Once you've seen how they fit, you'll understand how it works with these. Like a small wheel trim. These lugs with a steel ring are inside the bore of the wheel, so you're just trying to pull this way basically. The nuts are 17s. If you don't have a wheel nut specific socket, it's a good idea to put some masking tape around the end of your socket. That way you won't scratch your rims if you come off at a funny angle. If, like me, you're on a ramp, put a breaker bar or similar under the wheel, and then you can lever up whilst you undo the nut. And here we are inside the wheel arch. Now, as I'm just going to do a quick tidy up, I'm not going to be disconnecting hydraulics to clean up and paint these brakes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dress them up just a little bit using a wire brush in situ because they're nice and clamped to the car. And then I will disconnect the carriers from the back plates, mask everything off, and I'll do a paint job on them just to make them just look a little bit tidier. Once you've got the worst off, the only thing you can really clean brakes with is brake cleaner. So use a bit of that. Brake cleaner won't harm your seals or contaminate your pads. So don't clean your brakes with anything else unless they're off the car. It also evaporates very fast. Before you go much further, make sure you've got some bungee cords or similar and somewhere to hang them up, because what you're going to need to do is take the weight of your brake caliper so that they're not hanging off your flexible brake lines. This car's actually got a little clip that holds the flexi brake line to a bracket, so I'm just going to flick that off. But not all cars would have this same little clip. There we go. It's basically like a little gate. And then once the gate's open, you can pull that grommet out of the slot. That gives you a bit more length. And I've already disconnected the wear depth indicator from down there. If you're having a bit of trouble orientating yourself, you're now inside the wheel arch looking out at me. Next thing, just going to disconnect these two bolts, which are the slider parts of the caliper. Very often they'll be Allen bolts or hex drive bolts, but in this particular case they're just standard. So 13mm for me, and undo, just give it a nudge. They usually not very tight because they are unlikely to undo. They're just holding a sliding pin in place. So a few taps with a hammer just to shock them, and off they'll come. So that's them out, and that should enable me to take the outer part, top part of the caliper off. Made a small mistake in that this wear depth indicator, I thought the pads were going to stay in the caliper, but they're staying on the wheel disc. So I'm just going to undo this, bracket it so I can move the wire and not break that wire. There we go. This time, there we go, pulled the caliper all the way off. Put that wear sensor through there. And this is where your bungee cord comes in. You need somewhere you can basically tie this up. Whilst you look at everything else. And that's not straining the flexi hose. You see the wear depth indicator wire is attached to the pad, and now we can take the pads out. You see they haven't done much work. I would go as far as to say they're practically new. So that's good. Very good. This bit is called the carrier, and I would like to spray that a little bit as well, so I'm going to remove it. Just again get rid of a little bit more of that crud whilst it's clamped. This is a purely cosmetic job I'm going to be doing, so it's mainly the front or outer, away from you guys. It's going to need a bit of spray, but There's no arm to tidy things up so you can see what you're doing. On our Abarth, these are 19mm. So I've got a 19mm socket, 6-sider, a better purchase. Pop that on there, and we'll give that a pull. They weren't overly tight. Obviously a long bar like this makes everything easy, but even so I would have been able to do that with a spanner and a few taps again with a hammer just to shock it. So literally the most specialist tool I've had to use on this job. If you'd like to do the same on your car, Fiat or otherwise, here's a bungee cord. Other than that, basic mechanics tool bag plus some brake cleaner. I'm not even going to recommend a brand of brake cleaner because it's just very light solvent, no oil in it. There's not a lot of variation between brands or anything like that. Get some stuff that you can buy a reasonable amount of. Don't spend a fortune. And they're off. Things I'm using for this job include brake caliper paint from Halfords in red. Again, nothing flash, nothing expensive. Some people think you need, 1000-degree paint and everything else for calipers, unless you're on a racetrack with ceramic brakes and everything else. Brake calipers don't actually get that hot, so a decent paint will stay on. Caliper paint is made to cater for a little bit of heat, so anything that's got a little bit of heat resistance will be more than fine. The ultimate is powder coating. That's what I've done on my XK8 because that'll last a long time and resist all sorts of corrosion, the elements and everything else. This will make them look pretty. So as ever, round up my little rough spot where I do my spraying. The only bit I'm really interested in spraying is this and here, because that's all you can see from the wheel side. But I want to just mask off the two little rubber boots on the sliders, little concertina gaiters, because paint doesn't do them any good. Solvents in it can start to harden the rubber. So just mask that off, even though I'm not going to be directly spraying on them. And these slideways just clip on, so I'm going to take them off, and now we'll just give it a quick dust coat. First coat, you just want to put some paint everywhere you want paint to be, but that's about all you need to do. Don't worry about covering it to the right depth or even or anything else. Just some paint everywhere. We'll come back to our caliper. What we want to do now is mask off the rubber hose, mask off the bleed nipple, and mask off the piston area, sort of drum in here that slides in and out. But Other than that, I'm just going to put a big piece of bin liner or something else, cover up the wheel arch and the disc, and give that its spraying in situ as it is. So in terms of prepping the wheel arch, the easiest way to do things is put a big cloth over your disc and then plonk your caliper on the disc. And that's useful because it gives you a great way of positioning it. It doesn't strain the hoses, but equally you can see exactly which bits are going to be on show, because remember, this is just a cosmetic quick blowover. Coat is drying a little bit. Another little tip is, unless you're using red stuff brakes and you're painting your calipers red, it's kind of going to be ruined on most calipers by this big black chunk of backplate that's showing. So whether it's removable or not, it's worth just giving that a clean up and giving it a quick squirt over in red as well. Well, this technique's pretty effective. Really don't need to dismantle too much. I'm not getting any overspray on the car, don't worry. It's white, I'd know. And it's given me a good opportunity to inspect the pads and the suspension in each corner. So quite pleased with that. The weather's closing in on me. I've got the garage door open because of the painting. I'm going to knock it on the head pretty soon. Talking of knocking it on the head, I mentioned to a few of you that I have some unusual health issues, including the fact I can't put my head upside down and retain my balance. I have no natural sense of balance. My ears don't work. So earlier today, I managed to lean down to look underneath Snoopy to make sure I got my rubber blocks in the right place, and then headbutt my ramp. So the egg is coming up, as they say, and today is done. Once you've completed the task, don't forget to put the right torque on the wheel nuts. I'm going to put 100 Newton meters on mine. You'll agree that's considerably better. Calipers have now been painted for a couple of weeks and a couple of 100 miles, and they've stood up really well and cured. So the last step for me is just to put the Abarth stickers on. It would have been on if I'd specified red calipers from new. So I just ordered these off the internet. Just a heat resistant sticker. Clean off any brake dust with a bit of alcohol. Obviously you can take the wheel off for ease. I don't think I'm going to need it for this. I've got just eye it up. Peel the backing paper off. Sticker with the transfer paper on goes on. Halfway between the A and the B is the middle of the word. That goes in the middle of the horseshoe shape on the caliper. Like so. And rub it down well. And you can get these stickers as a straightforward Abarth or with a taper, both ends. And the nature of the calipers means it looks better with the taper on both ends. And again, if these were as an option from new, that's how they would look. Oh, once you've got that on, peel your transfer paper off, which is just a masking tape really, low tack masking tape. Peel it carefully because you may pull up the letters. And don't jet wash the wheels until they've been through a good few heat cycles. So again, the adhesive is as good as it's going to get. Well, I think you admit that looks rather sharp. I like that. And if you don't like it, you don't do it. If you've enjoyed this video, then consider subscribing to the channel. That costs you nothing, it just means you're following the channel. It appears as one of your favourites basically. And if you click the little bell icon that comes up after you've clicked subscribe, that allows YouTube to send you notifications when new videos come out. See you soon.